What's going on, HCL fans? It's Gordon Sine here, coach of the New Jersey Giratinas, bringing you the Week 4 Power Rankings, and I am joined, as always, by PokeRangerMike.
Hey guys, how's it going?
And so, let's get right into the Power Rankings for this week. As we've had for quite a few weeks now, in the bottom, we have GolemGaming and the Pittsburgh Aerodactyls, and Golem had a rough loss this week. It was a very close battle, but it was against UrsaSupreme, who is the second lowest team, I think, in the league right now, when you look at the standing sheet. And so that loss for Golem just really hurt him, and so I couldn't move him up in the power rankings, obviously losing to Ursa. However, Golem has made a few free agent moves as of recently that have me a little excited. He picked up Ninjask, and I think he just recently picked up Alakazam. So he's been making moves, and hopefully it benefits his team, and hopefully he can move on up in future weeks.
Yeah. Once again, this week, for the most part, Golem was still kind of playing in that predictable manner, which we have seen in the last couple of weeks. Not really being able to realize that Ursa was switching around on his grass and water types to kind of combat the discharge and heat wave. So I think that if Golem won with the new members that he's getting and kind of his team building, and if he kind of does a little bit more predicting, kind of guessing what his opponent does, I think he's going to be able to kind of come back in and really fight hard and pull out some wins or some really close losses at the least.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things I really liked about him, his movements this week, was he actually dropped Barbarical, a mon that he's been using a lot. But the reason I like it is because he's used it so one-dimensionally, and it just hasn't worked well enough for him. So to just drop it and completely clear out of that mindset of what it does might be what he needs to think about more creative team building.
Yeah, I am really excited to see what Golem does, and I really hope he's able to pick up a couple of wins this season.
Same here. Moving on up to our number 11, we both have UrsaSupreme and the Columbus Cubchoos, and like we said, he's in the bottom as well when it comes to standings. And he did pick up his first win this week, but it was only a 1-0 against Golem, who is also in the bottom, so it wasn't anything super impressive, but it was good to see him get a win this week, and it was good to see him use Mons a little better, make smarter plays than in past weeks. So I think he's getting a better feel for the team that he's been given.
Definitely. I think Ursa is playing pretty decently for his experience. The one thing that kind of hurt him a lot in his battle against Golem was that there was a bit of hacks that was against him, which kind of put him kind of in the back corner trying to come back into the battle. But he was able to make some nice switches and to really kind of know what his win con was and stick with it and be able to pull out the victory 1-0. So I really commend Ursa for the good battling, and I'm excited to see what he's able to come up with for sets and teams in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And I know he's going to be starting to use one mon a little more, and that mon is Drapion, because I tried to trade for it, and he wouldn't let me have it. So, I can only...
He's a very good Scorpion doggo.
Exactly. I can only assume he's going to be using that in future weeks and using it well. I'm sure he's using it a lot on Showdown right now to get a feel for it and things like that. And so it'll be interesting. I think it fits his team really well. So I think there's a lot of good to come from Ursa's battling.
Definitely.
Moving on up to number 10, we both have Gaytor in the Cincinnati Salandits. Now, I moved him down one spot, you moved him down 4, and the reason I didn't move, my move wasn't as drastic was because last week, as I said, I did more of a wake-up call for him, and he did not wake up. He rather fell asleep again and let Cog beat him. And
yeah, he kind of fell asleep at the wheel. One of the things that we did hear from him was that he built his team only a short while before his battle against Cog. so he probably wasn't quite as prepared as he should have been. One of the other interesting things that did happen, which I kind of question on him, is that he did bring in his Kyurem against the Garchomp when I believe the Garchomp was already locked into Outrage, without checking to see if the Garchomp was scarfed and would be faster than him, or whatever was happening there. So he kind of just sacked off his Kyurem in a unceremonious way, which, was a huge threat on Gaytor's team, and he kind of just let it go down. So I feel like he wasn't playing to the best of his abilities this week, but from his, victory in the past, I think Gaytor is a very confident battler and can do some good work. I just want to see him kind of, obviously take a little bit more time with his building and prepping, and just kind of take some time, think about what he needs to do and what his best play is.
Definitely, and like you were saying with the Kyurem, he could have easily went into Silvally, seeing that it was a fairy type, seeing that his Cog was locked into Outrage, and you could have scouted out for the Scarf as well by doing that. It just, in hindsight, was the better play. Again, it's hard to know the exact things to do when you're battling, but it's things like that that caused Gaytor just to lose pretty much all momentum in the battle. I think together the battle was like only 14, 13 turns, somewhere around there, maybe 16. But for a league battle, that's pretty short, and you could just watching the match, Cog pretty much had the momentum the entire time, and Gaytor was fighting an uphill battle and ended up losing.
Yeah, it was a very disheartening battle, I would say, for Gaytor. But I'm excited to see, how he's going to be able to bounce back in the future.
Exactly. I think this is going to be a huge motivator for him to do better and for him to prep for longer periods of time. So we'll see how Gaytor does in this upcoming week. Until then, though, we're moving on up to number 9, where we both have the Los Angeles Hunters, and once again, we both put Cog in the same place. I think we might have had him in the same place every week so far. I'm not sure. Maybe one week we were off. But, yeah, Cog moves on up to number 9, and now he beat Gaytor, and that was quite impressive. He had a very great battle. He played very well, and he used his Mons the way they were supposed to be used. So great job on Cog. However, I don't think it was deserving to move him up too much in the fact that, like we said, Gaytor didn't take much time to prep. Also, the Kyurem play. So Gaytor didn't make the greatest plays, and so didn't make the battle super challenging for Cog. But Cog did prove that if he uses his Mons right, he can be a force to be reckoned with in the league.
Yeah, I definitely think that this week, Cog really showed off what his team can actually do. He really kind of used all of his pieces together, just really well. The one thing I will still kind of point out is he does still have quite a few dragons on his team, which, was smart of Gaytor to bring the Valley Fairy to kind of combat those. So I would just be cautious for him, just because Ice and Dragon is just going to absolutely tear through most of his team. So just be cautious, but I'm really looking forward to seeing, Cog using his team as he did against Gaytor and really putting in some work.
Definitely. I think if Cog maybe, I know he has Incineroar, but maybe a little bit of a faster fire type, I think something like that could definitely benefit his team. So if he made a move like that in the future, who knows, maybe we could see Cog make a move like that, and I think his team would just benefit greatly from it.
Yeah. Really excited to see what he does.
Exactly. Moving on up to our number 8 spot, we both have Boston Bronzongs, coached by EpicMic. And Mick this week didn't play his greatest game. He did lose to Fish 4-0. Now Fish is one of the top battlers in the league. However, he's not like out of reach for Mick, because if you look at it, Fish beat Valor 1-0. I beat Valor 3-0. Mick beat me 1-0. Or no, I beat Mick 1-0 rather. So like he's close. If he plays well and makes the right plays, he's very close to being a top team. However, this week he just made some very questionable plays, and it just didn't. He didn't get the win, and it didn't suit him well the way he played.
Yeah. I think in the beginning of the match, he was able to play very well, kind of switching around and getting the matchups that he needed. The one issue that he had was the play where Fish had his Jolteon in, Mick sent out his Kartana, and Mick went for the knockoff on the Jolteon, who had already used a Z move earlier in the battle, so he knew that he couldn't knock off an item. And because of this, he couldn't knock out the Jolteon, and the Jolteon was able to go for a Thunder Wave, which, destroyed Kartana's speed, allowing the rest of Fish's team to outspeed it. And that was really his offensive threat that he needed to clean up that battle with. And he let it, pretty much go down to the Thunder Wave. Had the Jolteon that had hidden power of fire as well. That could have utterly destroyed it. So going for that knockoff, in hindsight, obviously was not a very good play. I think the better situation would have been going for a Leaf Blade. But once again, it's all in hindsight. But I think Mick is going to be able to pull out some good victories in the future. I think he just needs to kind of take some more time and think about the end game and what he needs to win, and not only about what's right in front of him.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. I think if Mick just starts making some better plays in games and really takes into consideration everything that's going on in the match and all the Pokemon still remaining, I think he'll perform just a bit better than he has been. And I think he could still find his way into playoffs. Again, his division is one of the weaker divisions right now, just standings wise, so he's not out of a playoff spot at all. So as long as he keeps up battling the way we know he can battle, he's going to be fine. Moving on up to number 7, we both have Rozzy and the Denver Avaluggs, and Rozzy played a pretty good game this week. He did unfortunately lose the match 2-0 to Red. However, he just played a very solid game, and Red's team Red had the checks for Rozzy's team. And I think Rozzy has proven that he can be a very skilled battler in this league. He's using the Mons like Infernape, Gyarados, and Galvantula that he didn't use in week 1. He's using those very well, and because he was able to play so close against a team, coach like Red, I figured we should move him on up. Also, just because of some other performances, like how Gaytor played or how Mick played, I felt it was too hard to put anyone else above him. So that's why I have Rozzy at number 7.
Yeah, the game was very close, and one of the interesting things when I was watching it was when the Galvantula at the very end came in against the Gliscor. I honestly thought that Rozzy had the game right there, because what I thought he was going to have was Focus Sash on Galvantula, and he was going to have Hidden Power Ice and Thunder, and those two moves would have destroyed the Gliscor and then destroyed the Slowbro with the remaining HP that it had. Unfortunately, the Galvantula was choice spec'd, and he had to go for his best move, which in this case was Giga Drain. Unfortunately, it didn't do enough damage to the Gliscor to knock him out. But had the Galvantula just been slightly different, I think he would have been able to pull out the victory against Red. And so that's why I think that he is deserving of the number 7 slot.
Yeah, definitely. Rozzy, if he plays well with the Mons he has, he definitely can do a lot in this league. So we'll see how Rozzy performs in future weeks, and I hope to see him continue to use his Mons the way he has been recently.
So for my number 6 and your number 5 is the Boston Delphox, who was up against Rozzy and the Denver Avaluggs, as we talked about.
Yeah, and we both moved him up 2 spots this week, and Red has really proven to be a strong battler. He's, like I said at the beginning of the season, he has multiple weather options, and he's used all those weather options very well for his team and for what he needs for each week. On top of that, though, he doesn't rely on weather to win in matches. He uses Glaze Score properly. He might go with the standard sets most of the time, but he still uses it well. He doesn't just let it go down. He knows when to bring it in, and doing that is just good in itself. But to have a team around it that allows him to do that is just even better for him. And he's proven that he can battle alongside some of the top battlers in this league. And he's holding his own in a division with 2 coaches that have had league experience.
Definitely. Red is very interesting because watching his battles, sometimes he kind of misplays, but he's still able to kind of get through that and still pick up some either wins or some very close defeats. So I think that Red, even though he might make a kind of strange play once or twice, he's still able to really pull through and, have just some good battling experience.
I was quite surprised by Red, and I think he's really earned the number 5 spot on my list this week. Moving on to my number 6 and your number 5, I have the Valencia Venusaurs. And the reason I moved Collin down this week was for 2 reasons mainly. One reason, he played against you and he did not perform nearly as well as I thought he would. And he hasn't played super well against the top teams. He got 4-0'd by Fish, he got 4-0'd by you, and seeing that, he just hasn't played super well against those top teams, and I think Red has played a lot better against those teams like Fish. I know he lost to Fish 2-0, and I think Red's just been playing a little bit better. I think Red's also had a bit better when it comes to prepping. I think Collin has kind of made some sets that work but aren't 100% solid, and with one move change here or there, probably could have won him a match. And so he also makes just some questionable plays during the battle. And because of that, I just felt like Collin needed to move down this week, and I think Red deserved to be put over him.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I think personally, Red has made more misplays in past than Collin has. And one of the challenges is that, yes, he has been 4-0'd by both Fish and I. I feel like the one against Fish was a little bit more of his fault, just because, he did sack off his Charizard accidentally by misclicking.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of a bad situation for him. But other than those battles, I think he's played really well, and I feel like his battling has been a little bit stronger than Red's has. I feel like he's made a few less misplays. He may not have made like his best play, but I feel like in Red's case, Red has made a couple of plays which were like not good versus Collin, which is he went for a different play than like another option. So that's kind of the difference, I feel like.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I think it's very close between those two, and obviously their division standings don't lie. It is very close between those two. It's coming down to just a few differential points. So as the season goes on, we'll see how those two both do in their division and in standings, and I think we'll eventually see who is the better battler of the two.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing the difference between these two.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to their match, which is in just a couple weeks from now, I think, because we're starting division matches pretty soon.
Oh, yeah. I'm watching you.
I think the entire league is going to help me prep against you, Mike. I don't think anybody... I don't think anybody in the league right now wants you to keep winning. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people have been rooting against you more than they've rooted against Valor, which is crazy to think.
Ouch.
I'm just hearing from other coaches. This is just what I hear.
I know. It's so funny though, because like I have not gotten any assistance when it comes to building my own team against anyone else. Meanwhile, I've helped several coaches with building against other people.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to the coach, in all honesty. Like, I think certain coaches benefit from having other input. I think some coaches just don't benefit at all from it. Like, when you have too many people thinking about things, it's just going to be too rough. I know Cog used to have a bunch of people help him out. Like, in week 1, I think he had me, Valor, and Mick all talking to him about ideas. And recently, I've been the only one really helping Cog out. I know you've looked over his teams, but haven't like really done too much with him, and I think that's helped him out a lot. But anyway, moving on to our next team, we both have the Dallas Darmanitans at number 4, and Mike, I just want to talk about last week, because I remember you had Valor over me, and I'm like, really? Really? We'll have to see. We'll have to see who wins the battle, and look who won, buddy. Look who won. So you want to?
Very true. I am a man of my word, and I changed it, based on how the outcome came. I will say, even though you are bragging up, we do have a very salty Valor off in the distance, kind of shaking his fist at you.
This is true. And if you don't know what he's talking about, he is talking about the Mist Leaf Storm by Rotom on my Mega Abomasnow. And it did come down to a roll on whether I would have gotten the sub up or not. But then it also would have come down to plays after that. If he would have switched out with Rotom into Weavile, if I would have predicted that going for Brick Break. So it was a lot of what if situations after that. So it's hard to tell if him hitting it and getting the roll he needed would have won him the game. But it definitely was a big game changer for him not to hit it at all.
Yeah, it was definitely kind of the salt in the wound of that battle. It would have been really nice had he hit it, just so we could have known like how it would have happened. Unfortunately, it didn't play out that way, and like I said, it was just kind of salt in the wound and really just stung, because after that point, the rest of his team was very weak to ice. And unfortunately, his Salamence didn't have Intimidate, so that way he could kind of reduce the damage of that Ice Shard that you had. So it was a very interesting battle, because for a while there, myself and the other coaches who were watching honestly thought that there was no chance that Valor was going to lose. I was very sad that he pretty much let his Leavanny go down early on, because I knew that the Gastrodon was going to be a complete pain for Valor's team, and it definitely ended up being that. I was like, hey, you might want to run Gracium Z for that Gastrodon if he brings it.
Yeah.
So it was a very tough situation. It was a very close game, and I really would have loved to see the Leaf Storm hit, just so that way we could know
what would have
happened.
And I touched on that in my video. I would have preferred to have won in a sense where he hits it and I just play better or whatever, or the roll or whatever. I would have just preferred the game to go that way, and whoever won. That's personally, I would have preferred to see it that way. However, again, it comes down to a lot of what ifs, and it wasn't an automatic win for him if he did hit it. That being said, the only other thing I want to add about this match is that I totally forgot about my one hidden tech. I had Pixelate Quick Attack on Sylveon. Now, it wouldn't have done that much to Salamence, but instead of sacking Sylveon off, I could have went for it, just so it could have been shown off, and I'm kind of sad I didn't. And honestly, if he had Intimidate on Salamence, that play might have actually mattered to see if Ice Shard would have killed and things. So
Yeah.
if he had Intimidate, that quick attack from Sylveon might have actually mattered.
That is pretty funny.
That was last second idea there though. But I think we've touched on both my performance and Valor's performance enough that we can move on up to my number 2 and your number 1, and that is yourself and your Lapras. And the reason I didn't move you up is it's nothing against you or your battling, because you've obviously been playing very well. It's just Fish has also been playing very well. He showed us something this week that really impressed me, and that was he doesn't need rain to win matches. He brought his team without focusing around the rain team. He didn't even bring Mega Swampert, and he still pulled off a 4-0 win against Mick. And I think just because of how well he's played and how well he's done against tough opponents, I don't want to move him down. I feel like he's just performing very well. However, you still have played great matches, and your team's very scary to prep for. Like I've said, I think most people are trying to get help to prep against you, and I don't think anybody's been able to figure it out yet. Like, I remember helping Collin when he was prepping for your team, and there were ideas and things, but again, there wasn't a clear strategy on, if I get this to happen, I can win this match. Like, when I was prepping for Valor, I knew if Mega Abomasnow got a sub up, I pretty much had the match. I kind of knew that going into the match. Like, sub is my way to victory in this game. And I haven't seen that for any team when prepping against you. So, hats off to you for having such a scary team.
Yeah. When it comes to draft leagues, I feel that I'd probably say like 30% of like a game's victory is done from the draft. 50% of it is from the team building, and then the remaining 20 is from the actual playing. So I think that I put together a very strong team, and the reason why I have myself at number 1 over Fish is because I feel like in the 4 games that I have played so far, I've been in control of the battle. I never felt like there was a situation where I could have lost, and I don't feel like that's the same for Fish. I feel like had his opponents at certain times had different sets or gone for different plays, specifically like Mick going for Leaf Blade, or possibly, for instance, kind of in Red's battle had the Heliolisk been slightly different, I think he might have been able to pick up a victory against Fish. So it's not that Fish is playing bad, I just feel like he's not quite in control of his battles as much as I am. And that's why I have myself at number 1 over Fish, just because I feel like it's been a little bit more of a convincing victory on my part. Because the lowest that I have won by is a 4-0, and Fish has had some very close games.
But remember, in all the teams that you two have both played against, you both have won 4-0 against both teams. Against Mick, you both won 4-0, and against Collin, you both won 4-0. So I think in the next, I don't think it's 2 weeks, because we do get into divisional games, but like 3-4 weeks, I think you guys will have played all the opponents that the other one played in the first 3 weeks. And so I think that's going to give us a better idea of who's been playing better. Unfortunately, you two don't play till week 11, and at that point, you two are probably going to both be in playoffs, and so you might not want to reveal all your hidden tech and things for each other's teams. So I don't know if we'll get an answer of who's better in a battle during the regular season. However, I think seeing how you guys do against the opponents the other one faced will give us a slightly better idea.
Yeah. Week 11 honestly might be a hilarious battle. Fish and I just bring ridiculous sets and just like have a great time, but we'll see what happens.
Hopefully. Remember, my record's pretty close. Who knows? You could be knocked out of a bye week spot, you know. So
I mean, one extra battle. Why not?
Why not? That's the battle you end up losing and you regret everything.
I mean, if my own hubris gets me, then so be it. But I just want to have a good time and have some good battles.
Definitely. I still think the top two is way too close to call. And, you know, for even a second this week, I'm like, should I put myself over Fish? I'm like, I can't. Even though I battled Valor, I had a better differential against Valor than Fish did, and I had a better window looking for a win, because, you know, Valor misplayed at the end against Fish or whatnot. Fish just has a better track record in battles and things, so I couldn't do it. But just for a split second, I'm like, I did play Valor better than Fish did.
Yeah, but you almost lost the mix, so...
That's my point. I left myself at 3. I'm just saying, for a second, I'm like, maybe, just because of that. But I'm like, nah. I won't be too full of myself, like I've said before. I usually look at your power rankings before I even rank myself. Usually. There's some weeks when it was a given, like this week where I had myself at 3, Valor was at 4, and this week I didn't feel like I could really move up or really move down, so, you know. But most weeks I don't really even rank myself, I more go off of what you have and things like that. But that being said, that's all we have for the power rankings for week 4. We will be back to talk about all the teams after the week 5 battles. I've been Gordon Sine.
And it's been PokeRangerMike.
We will see you next week.
Bye-bye.